All right, and captioner, if you don't mind doing a few more test captions, we'll make sure that they're coming across on YouTube. Okay, looks good. I'm gonna go mute.
All right. Thanks, Betsy.
You're welcome.
All right, Elizabeth, are you straight?
I think Betsy needs to was going to make me host. Okay.
And if you could just make me co-host, please.
Yep. I think we're good.
All right. Good morning, Garrett and Daniel.
Good morning.
Got that. Okay. I continue to get live recording messages coming across my screen, which is new, but we are live. And Garrett, Daniel is on. I'm looking for, I know that we have a couple of people not on the executive committee on, that's fine, but I'm trying to see if we have anyone else. I have somebody on the phone. Linda, is that you, the 757 number? You're muted. If you could unmute and let me know. Linda, you might need to press *6 to unmute.
I will go.
There you
Okay.
go. All right.
Thank you.
You're fine. And *6 will work to mute you again. I just wanted to make sure that that was indeed you. Let me see if I can rename you.
I just got it, Lauren.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So Garrett and Daniel and Linda, see, we're right at 9:30. And Garrett, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody. It is
Good morning.
to be with you. Good morning, Linda. Thank you and others for joining. I hope that you have been well, safe, and healthy throughout the rest of this pandemic since we last met virtually. And I'm excited to be with you all today. First item on the executive committee agenda is to review and approve the March executive committee meeting minutes. I trust you all had an opportunity to look over those, and if there were no needs for to review or amend those, then we can accept them as such. Hearing none. Next up, membership status. The SILC, the Silks representative of the SRC is Karen Carney. I've known Karen for quite some time. She actually got me into the Blue Ridge Independent Living Council, and but Karen is a longtime executive of the Blue Ridge Independent Living Center in Roanoke, and she is also the Silk chairperson. So she will be joining us today for her first meeting, and we should be very excited for what she can bring to the table as a longtime advocate for folks with disabilities. Doris is in the process of identifying the next VR counselor to serve the remainder of Dawn's term. This person will also be eligible for 2 full terms. Doris is working to identify the workforce board. Working with the workforce board to identify a representative for the SRC. So hopefully we will have some other new members coming along shortly.
Yeah, Garrett, this is Lauren, just to let you know a little bit of an update on that.
Okay.
Dee Dee has been working really hard with the workforce board to find somebody who's not only willing to serve, but is going to be a good match. And I think that they're going to be identifying that person this week. So I'm hoping that by August, we'll have one, if not both of those vacancies filled.
Hey, sorry to jump in the call, guys. I'm a little late. It's Brian Evans. Good to hear from everybody. It seems
Hey,
like
Brian.
it's been 100 years. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Like I said, didn't mean to step in the middle of y'all agenda. I don't even know what y'all were talking about. What were y'all just talking about in the first 3 minutes of the call?
Yeah, Brian, thank you for joining, my friend. We were talking about membership status, and that the new SOAP representative will be Karen Carney. She's also the SOAP chairperson, and Doris is working to identify VR counselors to serve out the remainder of Dawn's term, and we're also working with Doris in the workforce board to identify a representative for the SRC, which Lauren said we should have someone by August. So
Fingers crossed.
Okay, cool.
cross fingers and toes crossed, everybody. So that's really good. But thank you for joining, Brian. I know you're a busy man, so it means a lot.
No, it's okay. We're good. We're good.
Up next, the NCSRC's Zoom will continue to have ASL interpreters, which is great. Lauren, Karen, myself, and Linda were all able to join the May 19th call. If you'd like a copy of the presentation on WIOA, please let Lauren know. And I believe they could also be found on the NCSRC website. The next NCSRC call, excuse me, will be August 11th from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Lauren will send out a reminder and the Zoom info in advance. NCSRC is still hoping to have an in-person conference in Savannah this fall, but nothing has been determined. CSAVR conference materials and presentations from the spring conference in April should be available on the CSAVR website very soon. Next up, SRC members should start thinking about subcommittees for the nomination and annual report. Each subcommittee should be made up of 2 people. Lauren will be looking for volunteers in the next meeting. So I will be serving as one on the nominations committee for the next chair and vice chair. So we'll be looking for one more individual to serve in that role. Also, the news of Commissioner Jim Rothrock's passing is very difficult to process. Lauren would like to gather messages from individuals.
Oh, we did that. Hold on, Garrett. We did that last meeting.
I saw that. And I was thinking,
I think you're on last meeting's notes.
am I? No,
I think so.
it says June 14th. Am I? Did I miss other things?
No, you're right on. I think that you should switch to the next set of notes.
Mm-hmm.
There were no other updates or issues that I had identified, but you all.
Yeah, I'll just move on. The only other thing I covered everything else. The only other thing I was going to bring up, Lauren, was what we talked about of having the recommendations be sent in electronically by members.
You mean the roundtable reports?
Yeah, roundtable reports.
Gotcha.
So yeah, those on the executive committee that are on the call, I would like to bring that up to you, and we have a little bit of time. Was there anything else, Lauren, that I missed?
No, I think that you've covered everything. I knew this would be a quick executive committee meeting, so you have a little bit of time to discuss
Okay.
what you want to do about
Yeah,
the
that's why I would
round
leave
table.
that at the end, so if we could have more time to discuss. So those on the call, what are your thoughts? Because I personally do think it is a good way to have people send in their reports early. I know, Lauren, we didn't talk about a specific time frame prior to the meeting to having those in, but I would welcome anyone else's thoughts on that. This meeting is very packed, very full, so we will be on a tight schedule, but that's why we're doing it this time, but I think it also could work for future meetings. So, go ahead. Was that Brian?
All right, so quick question. I've been off for a while, so when you say reports, when we're talking reports, what are we talking referring to? Reports early.
The round table reports, like just as all members of the SRC would just deliver their reports, usually, in the afternoon of the meetings.
Jared,
So you're just talking about.
Go ahead, Laura.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So to clarify, this is coming up for a couple of reasons. The idea even, and if you don't like the idea, be honest, of submitting, you all always do a really great roundtable report session where you verbally give reports of any updates. The reason why it might be good to have those submitted in writing is I am the one who is doing the minutes, and sometimes I may not get things exactly the way that you intended it. This would help the minutes reflect the accuracy of your report the way that you would like it put in the minutes. We actually have a change in the minutes that'll come up next session directly out of roundtable reports. So this would be a way of helping to ensure that I'm capturing exactly what you actually want.
Okay, no, I understand. Just for the purposes of minutes being accurately captured, got it. Sometimes these roundtable conversations come up in there kind of free ball. So maybe we could make a suggestion that somebody does bring something that's off subject that they wasn't planning on talking about, but it just came to their mind at the time, that maybe they should just get with you and submit a summary of what they were talking about. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Because sometimes these aren't going to be able to be prepared in advance. Some of the people do have their stuff in advance. Like some of the people that are working for agencies like DARS and, the people that are working for vocational rehab and stuff like that, they pretty much have their stuff already in advance. A person like me, that's like a lobbyist, I might come out of nowhere from nowhere. But what I'll do, out of respect to what you're saying, is I will get with you personally and make sure that we recapture it. So is it fair to say that we could do something like what you suggest, but if it is something that's off table, that we just get with you personally just to make sure the minutes are captured accurately? Just because we said it, I don't. Just from working at my job, like we get off table a lot. So I just don't want it to be put to a situation a person doesn't talk about something at the round table because he wasn't prepared or didn't send your report in advance.
I don't think that's not really the intention, is to keep you from talking. I love it when you all talk, and really, I don't want to change a thing about how you do your roundtable reporting verbally. I think it would be good to make sure that whatever you do want on record is something submitted to me.
That makes
that's the
perfect
only
sense. Definitely bring that up. I agree with you. 100%. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think that's not a bad idea. It's something to bring up. Y'all going to talk about it at the meeting when we go with the rest of the guys, or this is something that's already been discussed?
This is the first it's being discussed. So why don't you all, I know Daniel and Jolie Fawn, you may have some ideas too. So why don't you all discuss this? Because really, being such a tight meeting, this would probably need to advance via a recommendation from you to the council. So.
So I think it's a great idea because it got me kind of thinking ahead of time, and it wasn't sort of like me, obviously, it got me thinking ahead of time and really kind of centering on the things I wanted to say. And I don't want to put more work on you, Lauren, but would it make sense to get these like a week ahead of time and then send them out so that people can see kind of the broad things. We can talk more about it, go into more detail during the meeting, but that would give them the opportunity to kind of know what's coming and formulate, like if they've got questions or things of that nature, because sometimes I'm a processor. I need to read it, I need to think about it, and then 2 days later, I come up, with a question or a thought. And so I guess it sort of depends on, I mean, that's just a thought for me.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I like them both ways, but I know for in committees that other staff members sit on, I noticed that they send a report ahead of their meetings. And so I would discuss, and what I do in preparation for this is that we, my unit and the other young lady that sits on the SRC for DVVI, we discuss what my roundtable discussion is going to be and what she's going to discuss at DVVI. So when this came about to have a meet to send a report ahead of time, I'm fine with that. It's, if we're moving to such a plan, anything that we have to send in writing must be approved. So I have no problem with it, just as long as I know that if I'm sending something, what is approved by our upper management. But if we do this and we have something additional where there be a line to add additional comments, or if something came about, can we add that for the record later?
This is Lauren, and I'll help with this question. Garrett, you might have something to add. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I do not want to take away any reporting you might have, anything that could come up last minute. It just makes it that much easier to make sure that your minutes are accurate, because they don't get approved until your next meeting. So even in draft form, I really, really, really do have an appreciation for draft minutes being as close to correct as possible. I don't want to catch anybody off guard or put something in the minutes that it's not what you want there.
This is Garrett, Lauren, and everyone. What if there was a time frame, a couple of days or a week after our meeting, that if someone has something else to submit that they brought up in the meeting, but maybe not submitted to you, Lauren, ahead of time, that then they could do the same thing and just submit to you what they mentioned on the fly. So that
gets a little harder, Garrett. I'm going to tell you why. The minutes have to be finished within 10 days.
Okay.
So they need to be posted in draft form. And like I said, they get approved at the next meeting. But this would at least, people who definitely know some things that they're going to report can report on it early. That report can not only,
Thank you.
the big part is that we could get it out to the membership just like this time, getting it out early. You have a little bit of time to think about it, see if you have questions about some activities that are going on. I think I don't mean this to cramp your ability to report. I can still make sure that what you report goes in the minutes. So whether you do this or not, I can still make sure. So it's really up to you all. I just don't know if having it sent after the meeting is going to work very well.
Okay. All right. Just thought.
Jolie Fawn has a question, I think.
I like the reporting ahead of time, because seeing everyone's report beforehand, I could review it, process, as I believe someone else was saying. I could process it, view it, and if I had a question about, or if I was interested in something that another agency was doing, I can give more elaboration on it, versus with the roundtables that we do now. it's a process for me to, look at everything, go through, looking at my interpreter and, just processing. My mind doesn't work that way. So sometimes I just kind of like, oh, that was interesting, then go on to the next person. And I, totally haven't had time to process. But looking at the report now, I can be like, oh, they're going to talk about this. And if we had time to go further in that discussion, if Garrett said something and I was like, oh, I wanted to, maybe if he could tell me a little more about that, or if I wanted to reach out to him separately, I could ask him about that. So I do like that, but but I have the opportunity to just discuss later too, in our meeting, just to say, hey, do anybody want to add to, or go from there. I just don't want to take that away from us, being able to share in open forum.
Yeah, definitely. So if you
All right.
all, if you all want, you can put forward a recommendation that roundtable reports be submitted in writing, not just given verbally, and that they be submitted to Lauren a week in advance of the meeting. That would give enough time to compile it and get it up publicly.
All right, I think that's a great idea. I think we all can agree it makes a lot of sense just for us to do it at least a week in advance, just to give, like a couple of you guys said, the chance to review it, because some of us are processors and we like to see the information in front of us before we just, so I completely agree with that. So are we going to do this like we normally do? We're going to just make the suggestion, we're going to vote on it and do all of that good stuff, or we're just going to say this is the protocol going forward? I don't really know what the process is on a change like this. How does that go, Garrett? Garrett, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, we can vote on it, right, Laura? Or
Yeah, if you all want to do a vote amongst yourselves of I would assume is it going to be a recommendation. So
yeah,
if someone would like to put forth that recommendation, and then we can go ahead and get a second and just make sure that you have
Yep.
consensus here before passing it on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So if someone wants to make a recommendation, I'm all ears.
I would like to make a motion. That we submit reports at least a week in advance to Lauren, just to give her a chance to have it prepared for the meeting. If anybody would like to second that motion.
This is a recommendation. This is going to
Right.
go before the full council to be voted on. So it's a recommendation.
Oh, man. All right. Well, never mind then.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
I'm just too used to board meetings that we have to vote on everything that we change. So it's just I feel like even when we talk about stuff, we got to vote on it. So I'm like, here we go. Let's go ahead and make them a motion. But this is a recommendation right now. So this is a recommendation stage, guys.
Is there a second on the recommendation?
A second.
All right, Jolie Fawn. And let's just do quick roll call. Garrett,
yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Brian,
Here.
Jolie Fawn.
Yes.
Okay. Linda? Linda's on mute. Linda, you might have to do the *6 and unmute.
Oh my God.
Brian, you're not muted.
I'm not muted. I shouldn't be.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Linda?
Okay.
All right. Well, you all have a recommendation that you all support. Garrett, you will go through this recommendation during your chair report.
Yeah. Indeed.
Is there anything else I can do for you to make that easy?
No, I was thinking about doing it at the end of, at the last thing. I mean, or do you want me to bring it up first thing in my report, or?
No, I think doing it last thing would be great, because a recommendation is pretty simple. We can just do a roll call vote on that. And just make sure that everyone knows that this is not in any way going to change the verbal roundtable reporting session. It's not at all to do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Back to you, Garrett.
All right. Well, I think that's all that I had that I wanted to bring up. Lauren or anyone else, is there anything else in the last few minutes that we wanted to discuss?
Garrett, this is Lauren. Did you want to tell everybody that the August meeting is likely?
Oh, that's right. That's right. See, I forget one thing. The August meeting is likely going to be in person. So we fingers crossed that nothing else steps in the way of that. So we would still leave it open for those to be able to join virtually if they're not comfortable. But yeah, we're hoping to have the quorum and the majority of folks there.
Garrett, really quickly, the most important thing is you have to have a physical quorum in one location. Have to.
That's true.
Okay. So even though we do expect some people might need to participate electronically, this does mean as soon as that order is lifted, you go back to having to fulfill all of the FOIA
Okay.
responsibilities. And one of those is having a physical quorum in one location.
That's true. So, all right. And okay. And what is the, like, of the members we have, like, so how many would we need to have in person for a quorum?
Well, a quorum is a simple majority. So let me count this of voting members, by the way. We don't count non-voting. So right now it would be 7.
Okay.
In person. Jolie Fawn, did you have a question?
Yes, I just want to make sure I understand. So once the mandate is lifted and we go back to in-person meetings, we still have the option to do both in-person and Zoom at the same time? Or because I thought it always was, if we had to go, once it was lifted, we didn't have that option. I know we put in a new, just in case for emergencies only, we can do this type of form, but we can do both. I just want to make sure I understand.
You can't do both all of the time. So I believe that Elizabeth, you know this by heart. I believe that it's 2 meetings per year for personal reasons. For disability, I do not think there is a limit, correct, Elizabeth?
Right. And that's for, yeah, a disability. By the time we hit August, the new stuff will go into effect. So if you have a family member who's ill or disabled and you need to be a caregiver for them, that is a reason that you can participate electronically as well.
So we will have electronic participation, probably 1 meeting per year. Really should not have electronic participation, but there are some things with that as well. So we really need to try and be in person whenever possible. If it's not possible, you just need to talk to me about that so that we can make sure that we're staying within the guidelines. Make sense?
Hey, and Lauren, this is Catherine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, and if you do not have, so for those who are allowed for personal exceptions under a certain section of FOIA, so those exceptions for individuals calling in or participating, via Zoom, related to disability, medical condition, caregiver, and then the 2 times a year for a personal issue. If you do not end up having a physical quorum present in the one location, if you have presentations, you can still have those presentations. However, the public body, in this case being the SRC, would not be able to take any action, make any recommendations, anything like that. Couldn't vote on minutes, nothing.
Yes, thank you. It would be a light version is what I call it, where there's no action really taken by the membership, but you can go forward with some of the meeting items.
Yeah.
Are there any questions? All right, Garrett, I'm going to hand it over to you to close this
All
out.
right. Well, no further questions on that. We will adjourn and then be ready for the full council meeting in just a few minutes.
Just a few. We've got a lot of people already on, so we'll go ahead and break out for full meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody take care. Talk to you in a second.
Hello, everyone.
Elizabeth, this is Lauren. Can you make sure that Liz has co-host capabilities as well as Dee Dee?
Yes.
Lauren, this is the interpreter, Laurie. I accidentally unspotlighted myself and I can't, excuse me, seem to spotlight myself back.
Okay.
Maybe that's because my camera's not on. Hold on. Yeah, that is why. I got it.
Okay, so it's
Sorry.
yeah, it turns off if your camera is off and it should reappear.
Right, good.
Okay, and all right. Looks like we're all set to go, Garrett. Turn it over to you.
All right, all set to go. Good morning, everybody. This is Garrett Brumfield. I'm the chairperson of the SRC and very glad to be here with you all this morning. And it is 10:01, so I will call this meeting to order. Lauren, if you want to announce all members participating.
I can certainly do that. We have Commissioner Kathy Hayfield, Aaron Bassard, Garrett Brumfield, Tammy Burns, Pam Kobler, Billy Cook, Brian Evans, Dr. Linda Garris-Bright, Daniel Irwin, Jolie Fawn Liddell, Karen Carney, Justin Spurlock, Jennifer Witteberg, and I just want to make sure is Angie Leonard on? And how about Madeline Nunnally? Okay, Madeline and Angie are not on yet, but they may join.
All right, thank you very much, Lauren. Up next, I would like to introduce a new member of the SRC. She is Miss Karen Carney, longtime Executive Director of the Blue Ridge Independent Living Center and the current chairperson of the Silk. So Karen, thank you for joining us today. And if you would like, you could briefly introduce yourself to the other members.
Sure, Garrett, thank you. So glad to be here. And as Garrett said, I am the Executive Director of the Blue Ridge Independent Living Center in Roanoke. I am currently serving as the chair of the statewide Independent Living Council. And I also serve as vice president of the Virginia Association of Centers for Independent Living. So again, glad to be here. Glad to be able to share information from both the Silk and VASIL, and looking forward to working with you all to learn more about the SRC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. And I also meant to mention to everyone that today's meeting is very packed. It is a tight schedule, but I will do our very best to keep everyone on track so that we can get everything done in a timely fashion. But again, thank you, Karen, and everyone else for joining today. We do hope that our August meeting will be in person. The state emergency and budget language is allowing for electronic meetings to expire at the end of the month. However, nothing is absolute or certain until the order is lifted. Lauren and I will remain committed to your health, safety, and comfort, and we'll do everything we can to make sure people can participate electronically while still having a physical quorum assembled at DARS. So that is the plan for the August meeting. Fingers and toes crossed. Up next, approval of the agenda for today. This can, and like I said, this is, so I trust you all had an opportunity to look over it. As I said, this is a very full meeting. So we will be doing our best to sticking to the times reflected on the agenda. So do we have a consensus to approve the agenda as such? Hearing no objections, you can approve the agenda as such. Moving forward, reviewing the minutes. There was one request to edit the minutes from the last meeting by Ms. Jenny Wittenberg. Lauren has left the draft language at the top of the slide with the requested changes below. New language is in orange and removed languages has been striked through. So a motion will be needed to approve the minutes as amended. So can
you hear me?
Can I get a motion? Yes.
Yes.
Was that a motion by?
I make a motion to approve. Can you hear me, Jared? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes as modifications have been added in.
Thank you, Linda. Can we get a second?
This is Billy Cook. I second that.
Jennifer, second before.
Okay.
Great. Garrett, I can do a roll call vote now.
That would be great, yes.
All right. Aaron Bassard,
Yes.
Garrett Brumfeld,
Yes.
Tammy Burns,
Yes.
Pam Kobler, Brian Evans,
Here, present.
Daniel Irwin,
Yes.
Jolie Fawn Liddell,
Yes, sorry, my mute was stuck.
Karen Carney,
Yes.
Justin Spurlock,
Yes.
Jennifer Whitteberg,
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Lauren and everyone. Up next, matters of public comment. Lauren, did we receive any public comments?
You did not receive any public comments.
All right. All right. Moving forward into the chairperson's report, my report, status of the SRC membership. We already welcomed Karen Carney briefly earlier, but that also know that DARS is working hard to identify the next VR counselor to serve, as well as the next workforce board representative. So we will keep you updated on that, and hopefully they will be able to serve at in the August meeting. Next, the NCSRC updates. All NCSRC Zooms continue to have ASL interpreters, which is great. Lauren, Karen, myself, and Linda were able to join the May 19th call. If you would like a copy of the presentation on WIOLA, please let Lauren know. The next NCSRC call will be August 11th from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Lauren will send out a reminder and the Zoom info in advance. NCSRC is still hoping to have an in-person conference in Savannah this fall, but nothing has been determined. So we'll keep everyone updated on that as we know more. Moving forward, volunteers are needed for subcommittees. I will be serving on the nominating committee, and I need one more person who would wish to serve on the executive one more person who does not wish to serve on the executive committee with me on the nominating committee. Also needed 2 volunteers for the annual report subcommittee. So Lauren, do we want to seek those volunteers now or in new business?
It would be great if you could go ahead and identify, that way we make sure that moving through the agenda, we don't have any added items.
That's fine. All right, so can I get anyone that would like to first volunteer on the nominating committee for the new chair and vice chair?
I'll serve with you, Garrett. And Joe LaFawn.
All right, so we've got Jolie Fawn and Garrett.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Jolie Fawn. And up next to volunteers, the annual report subcommittee.
This is Billy Cook. I would like to volunteer for the annual report.
Oh, thank you very much, Billy.
Garrett, I wouldn't mind doing that again also. This is Justin Spurlock.
Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you. All right. Up next, again, a reminder, the next SRC meeting will be August 16th, hopefully in person, because we will need a quorum in person, but if for some reason some people need to participate electronically, talk to Lauren, and we will and we will do our best to work with you on that. The last thing for me is, as you know, today, given our full meeting, we have asked that you all submit your roundtable reports ahead of time in writing to Lauren. And I, through recommendation of the executive committee, we have decided that it would be great and best practice to have from here on out all roundtable reports in writing to Lauren a week prior to the meeting. Now, that does not mean that if someone has something they would like to bring up spur of the moment or anything like that, that will not be granted, because you could still bring up things that may come up for you to share with the rest of the council. But we would like you all to have, we would like you all to submit your reports to Lauren a week in advance. So now we can, the members can vote on that.
Well,
Correct?
if there's a motion to accept the recommendation.
This is Tammy. I make the motion to accept that recommendation.
Thank you,
Is there
Tim.
a second?
A second.
Billy Cook will second.
Billy Cook, thank you very much.
And I'll do a quick roll call vote. If you're voting yes, please say yes, and no, please say no. Aaron Bassard,
Yes.
Garrett Brumfield,
Yes.
Pam Kobler,
Yes, and Lauren, I couldn't get my mute button on my computer, so I switched over to my phone. So I vote yes on the prior vote also.
thank you so much. I will update my record of voting. Thank you. Brian Evans,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Garris-Bright,
Yes.
Daniel Irwin,
Yes.
Jolie Fawn Liddell,
Yes.
Karen Carney,
Yes.
Justin Spurlock,
Yes.
Jennifer Whitteberg,
Yes.
great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. That is it for my report. And we are right on time. So I will pass it over to Commissioner Kathy Hayfield for her report.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Well, that's a lot of pressure on me, Garrett. We're right on schedule, you're saying, and I'll pass it on to Kathy Hayfield. All right, so what time is it? It's 10:15. I have till 12, right?
What?
Oh, no, I don't. Oh, okay.
I guess that's what you want.
All right. Well, I want to welcome you all to the meeting today and start out by thanking you for being flexible and working through this last year, making these meetings work so well. They certainly are a little more challenging than face-to-face, but they're also, we've really done well with them. And I have to say, I enjoyed the written input from you all. And I think that I got to know you all a little bit better and what kind of work you're involved in and what some of your interests are as it relates to people with disabilities and employment. So thank you. Thank you for sharing those. I also really want to thank the staff who are behind the scenes in these meetings. Without all of the help, these wouldn't run nearly as well. So I really want to thank you all for keeping us on our toes about FOIA, and Garrett's clapping his hands too, because I'm sure you feel the same way as I do.
Indeed.
So let me just, I look forward to the day that I don't give a pandemic update, but we're still talking pandemic, aren't we? The good news is the governor has lifted restrictions. The state of emergency is scheduled to end on June 30th. And you've all talked about what that means in terms of these meetings. I joined the call just at the tail end of the executive committee. And I know that you all discussed that this morning as well. That means that the next meeting will be in person and that we have to have a quorum physically. So I know there are more details than that, but I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in person at the next meeting. And I believe that's in August. Also, just FYI, at WWRC, the Anderson building, the training building has just been renovated, and state funded systems buildings are supported by general fund dollars from the General Assembly. And we've been fortunate enough to receive capital funds to renovate and update our training building. And I really look forward to having you all out to the center for a future meeting, because we have just an amazing state-of-the-art building now that is opening this week, I believe, or maybe today. So I look forward to having you all there for a future meeting, but I don't think that's the August meeting. For the agency, the changes in terms of the governor's restrictions are pretty significant. So we turned on a dime, and like all state agencies and businesses of the Commonwealth, we figured out how to work remotely for those who could. And almost overnight, people were working out of their homes, just like many of you are. Well, it looks different in our offices now. More and more people are returning, and we're starting to meet in person more for meetings, and our offices are again open to the public at the end of the state of emergency. That's when they'll be open completely to the public. But best practices really are to work remotely. So for those who can work remotely, they will continue to. And again, it's if it meets the business need. So one thing that's not going to change is that our priority is how we can best serve the adults and youth that we serve, to help them on their career path and to find employment. So some people might be able to work remotely 100%. Some people might work remotely half-time. Some might not work remotely at all. So it's not going to be business as usual. But what is usual is that the people we serve are at the forefront. And so we'll do everything we can to design our structure, our work structure, to meet the needs of the people we serve. What we are seeing is that our footprints will become smaller for our offices, and maybe in August or a future meeting, we'll give you a little bit more information about that. But an immediate change that we're working on is that our Greater Richmond office will be moving out of the Maywell building next year, January, February, or March, and moving over into the area where central offices are, which is the Radcliffe building. And our fiscal staff will move into central office, into the Lee building. And that one change alone will save the agency about $300,000 a year. So, you know, every dollar we save on leases, on electricity, and, you know, all the different costs that go along are dollars that get moved to client services. So I'm really excited about that one move. And I believe the staff at the Maywell, we used to call it the Maywell office, on the Maywell Street office, will be excited as well, because one thing that office has had is a problem that it hasn't been on the bus route, on the GRTC bus route. And when we're looking to lease offices, we always make that a priority. And that's something that changed in the course of us being there. So we've never been able to get GRTC to change that. And so our offices are right smack on a bus route. And it's a first floor office, and I think it will be really good for the people we work with. So we're excited to make that change, and kind of looking forward to moving more of our central office staff into the same locations, because honestly, you know, we don't see each other much. So, and even with teleworking, it's more the case. So that's just a little bit of information there. One thing I just want to spend a minute on is that you've all probably heard about the governor's One Virginia plan around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our agency developed a DEI council that's made up of people from all across the agency, about 16 individuals. And Lauren Roach is one of the members on that council. And people are from all different areas of the agency in terms of positions. And they are helping us look at our engagement, our inclusion. Over time, we'll look at our policies to adopt our policies to assure that we have equity in all of our policies and full engagement of our employees so that everybody can bring their full self to work. On my screen that you can't see, I have the draft of our One Virginia plan that's due to the governor's office by July 1. And we are, as all agencies are doing, we're assuring that our agency not only is responsive and equitable and inclusive for our employees, but also for the people we serve. So we'll be looking at the data both from our client services and as well as from our employees. So as we get into that a little bit more, I'll give you more of an update. And I'll also be interested in hearing from you all at some point, your input if we provide you the plan, and maybe hear some of your ideas and things you're working on in your roles as well. From a budget perspective, the good news is we're in very good shape. The bad news is that's partially because we've been in a pandemic. And so we left positions vacant over the year because we were working at a lower capacity in a number of areas. There had also been a freeze at some point during the pandemic. And now we're starting to ramp back up and fill some of those positions that we had left open. Also, we have fabulous news that all categories are open, and they have been open for a while now. And that's just such an amazing thing because for the last 10 years, we haven't been. So as we are kind of resetting the agency, we're doing everything we can so that those categories stay open. And Dale will be talking more about that. But at the same time, our categories are all open. That's also partly because our referrals, just like all across the country for vocational rehabilitation programs, our referrals are way down. Our applications for services are way down. And that's an area we could use some help from all of you. And I think I mentioned that at the last meeting, to please help us get the word out. And Dale's going to be developing kind of a campaign to remind people that we're out here and that services are available. So stay tuned on that as well. I'd like to personally welcome Karen Carney. I don't know, Karen, if you've ever been on the State Rehabilitation Council. We're delighted to have you as a part and for you to bring your knowledge of community as well as independent living to this council, because I just love the fact that we're seeing more interaction between independent living and vocational rehabilitation. And I believe your involvement in this council will be really beneficial. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that.
One last thing that I want to share with you, and then I'll stop, is that at the last meeting, we shared with you that House Bill 2140 passed, and that was the bill to establish a Schedule A type program for state government. So it's an alternative hiring process that allows a person with a disability to bypass the competitive hiring process for specific positions that are established. And then in the federal program, after a year, to become permanent in that position, considering everything goes well. This is something that advocates, people with disabilities have been fighting for, oh my goodness, 25 years. I think I was 10. And we're there. It's a big deal. And the way the legislation is written is that the Department of Human Resource Management will establish policies within 280 days. And we are working very closely with them to be involved in the establishment of those policies. And from my perspective, assuring that no extra hoops get added to it than need to be added to it, because there are guidelines out there for like programs. The Schedule A program for the federal government is a pretty solid program. So we're going to do our best to work closely with the HRM to assure that the system that is established will be good and will really help increase employment of people with disabilities in good, solid state government jobs. We're also considering the idea of locating a counselor of ours in the Department of Human Resource Management who would work on this program. And from our agency, we can do a better job of hiring people with disabilities as well. We're looking to target, and we're putting this in our One Virginia plan, by the way, for disability equity and inclusion, to target a person in human resources who will be responsible for the program in our agency. So all exciting things are happening in that area, and I'm feeling very positive about it. So at that point, Garrett, I think I did that in 14 minutes. That's pretty good.
That is good. That is good indeed. Thank you very much, Commissioner Hayfield.
Thank you for having me today.
Having a great report. So much information. At this time, we will continue on with the DRS division report by Ms. Dale Batten, the Deputy Commissioner. So, Dee Dee, take it away.
Good morning to all, and thank you, Commissioner, for that report and update. Some of the great things you said were some of the things I was going to say, so I can use my time for other things. Kathy's correct that all categories are still open. We're excited about that. We're excited about doing our marketing back out with you all and the communities to solicit referrals that we have not gotten in the past, but to refresh referrals so that we will make sure that everyone is able to know that we're open and ready to serve our customers. I'm going to present a report to you today, and I am going to actually send it to you as well. And I'm going to do some quick highlighting on the report, and then you all can ask questions about that in our next meeting in June, or if you have some today. But I think if I go through this quickly, it's just a great report that Barbara Burkett, our analyst, did for us. And I want to share some of that information with you, just the data about what's going on in VR and with Project Search. And so I'll go through this briefly, and then if you have questions, we can answer those questions today. You can review the report, and we can actually discuss it more in our next meeting in August, or if you like this kind of information, I can present this again in the future as well. So let's just start the PowerPoint presentation itself. Here we are. So what I want you to really see is that the customers that we are serving, this was as of last week, June 8th. In our system, we were serving 12,477 VR clients, about 4,000 potentially eligible clients. And again, there are students that are in high school that are not on our VR caseloads yet, but we're actually doing, excuse me, pre-employment transition services for them to determine if they want to provide, have services under the VR program. If they do want to do that, then we'll move them over to the VR program at some point during their students in high school, 4 years of high school. So totally, we have in our system, as of last week, about 16,000 customers, 16,500. The breakdown down the bottom just gives you an idea of what customers we have throughout the entire districts. You will see that cognitive impairment is our largest number of customers throughout the districts currently. And this chart tells us about where the open cases are in our districts. You will see the blue arrow receiving services is our big percentage of customers that we serve throughout each district. And also at the very top, I told you about the students with disabilities. You will see that the total is 4,100, the highest numbers in our Hampton Roads area. For our serving customers, of course, Northern Virginia is always our highest area because that's a large district for us right now. This is our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act performance measures, the measures that we're actually going to be rated on moving forward throughout our performance years. We have to be rated on our percentage of cases that's employed second quarter after closure, and the second one is fourth quarter after closure, those that are still employed. As you see, the 2020 goal was 47% for second quarter after a closure, and those that were employed fourth quarter after closure, 2020 goal was 45%. The green shows that we're over that percentage. Yellow shows that we are yielding right at the percentage, and then red means that we have not met it yet. The third bullet is our median hourly earnings second quarter after closure. And we are meeting that in most areas and some yellow there. And then credentials. We don't get our credentials pretty much until the end of the academic school year. So you'll see more red there. And then the measurable skill gains. Again, we get most of our measurable skills gains at the fourth quarter of our performance year, which is actually ending school, April, May, and June. So you'll see that number go up as we move forward in these performance measures. So these are the performance measures that we have to be rated on moving forward for our production in VR. This chart was basically what we used to show you. It was called our scorecard that actually showed where we were with closures, when we wrote plans for service delivery, that was individual employment plans, and then how many people were actually closed successfully employed. We still look at this number because you have to write plans in order to get successful closures. So this number is still present. We didn't change the production numbers from COVID 2020 to 2021. We actually are still at, as you see, about 60% overall for successful closures and somewhere in this 70 or 67% for plans. Our hourly earnings, median hourly earnings, as you see, is still above the $11.50 in Northern Virginia and $10.50 the rest of the state. So that's just information for you as well. This is just a breakdown of expenditures that we have for our fiscal year as of last week. We all are still spending more of our dollars in supported employment and job coach training. The second is the training, including tuition, and moving forward on to the rest of it you see on the screen. Again, you'll have a copy of this report. We can talk about in the future how you really like to dissect into this information if we want to do so in future meetings. We've totally expended $11 million thus far, and these are the top 6 expenditure categories that we are looking at for this year thus far. And again, this is just a chart to show you what has happened before COVID and then as a result of COVID. At one given time, we were spending $20 million in 2016 state fiscal year. We went up very high in 2017. As you look, our budget now has come down in the past years. We spent in 2019, 17 million. Last year, even though with COVID, we still spent 15 million. We are aligning right now with the encumbrance about 14 million, but actually paid in full only 11 million. We made in the year about 14 million. With categories open, we do see that this will probably start increasing again. That's just a good diagram for you to see how we escalated in years past, and now we've kind of declined with COVID. And as we look at it in 2022, you'll see how it probably will start to increase. And that, like Kathy said, we want to do all we can with service delivery to keep the categories open. When we spent that 20 million, 23 million, that's when we really had more categories open. And so when we close categories, you see that start declining in 2019. This is our expenditures 2021 year to date. Same thing I just told you. Thus far, we're estimated to spend about 15 million overall this year, which was good that we are able to do that. That's why we got categories still open. This is just a breakdown, and you can look at it at your own terms, how much we spent per client based on where we are in spending right now, with the highest being Hampton Roads per client. And that could be part of our, this is all funding spending. So this could be part of that high increase in the potential eligible clientele. All right, these are clients that served by employment service organizations. And then the total of how many we served, 3,731 clients by 53 ESOs, meaning that we paid services for 53 ESOs. We have more ESOs than that, but these are the ones we paid services for. The majority, 57% of clients are in the receiving services category for working with our ESOs. And it's just a breakdown of the 3,000 at the bottom. And now we're going to talk about the DAR's maintenance of services during the pandemic. Just to give you some background information on that. This is where we were in applications from 2019, 2020, and now 2021 as of June 8th, 3 years, kind of looking at each one in the June month. Our potentially eligible and VR customers applications declined in 2020. That was the start of the pandemic. And then to date, we have not increased a lot of those. And we're still down from 2019, about 4,000 cases. So that's something we're looking at strategically daily to figure out how we make sure that we're increasing referrals again. And that's, like Kathy said, a nationwide decrease. Every state has had decrease since the 2019 full before COVID. Plans have been actually increased. If you notice, 2019, we had 3845, 2020, we were virtually working and did more in the plan development for clientele. And even in 2021, we have more than we had in 2019 for plan development. So we're actually working efficiently and more effectively, I believe, virtually. So that's another reason that Kathy and we all agree that whatever's working well virtually, let's keep it that way. Let's not go back to where we were working before, and we may not have gotten as many great plans and meeting clients' needs. This is just a breakdown, a comparison. I just showed you the same types of services, the same kind of numbers that we looked at comparing services from 2019 to 2021. Our vehicle modifications, if you look at the third bullet graph, it has, we have done more vehicle modifications, and that could just be conversations, minor repairs in 2021. That should be blue. Then 2020, 32, and then 2019, we did not do any, if that chart is correct. I think that's the way it was provided. Job placement services have pretty much kind of maintained somewhat for 2021. And the biggest takeaway is that our guidance and counseling has dramatically increased. It went up really high in COVID 2020 and continues to go up high in 2021. So that's a good thing, that we're actually talking to our customers and trying to make sure we're providing excellent services. This is a chart of providing pre-pandemic compared to the pandemic. Same kind of breakout, and that was just a graph I just showed you. So it's just now in writing format. Now let's go a little bit to, well, before I do that, well, no, I'll go through the whole presentation and then we'll come back. Project Search, you asked me a little bit about what's happening in Project Search, so I got some information for us to share. Project Search had all sites that were, we had 19 sites. I think all of them were working in 2020, 2021 to date. Of the customers for the last 3 years, which again is 2021, we served 427 customers. And there's a breakdown. 2019 pre-pandemic was 161. 2020, 6 months of the pandemic was 132. And then now we served 134. So it didn't go down a lot, but it did take a decrease. Of those, Hampton Roads led the lead with 34% of our project search clients. And then Northern Virginia came second with 22% of our clients in population size. We had from 2012 through 2018 of project search participants, 532 successful closures. So out of that, from 2019 and 2021, we've actually successfully closed 136. And then we still currently have 254 in our service category. So that means that we're actually still serving them. They may not have gotten a job at the end of the project search last year, or they may have been in the system since 2019 and still have not totally got successful employment. So we're still working with them and trying to get them employed. And the wages for our project search for 2021, we had one closure, I think, thus far as $10.50. And that's an increase. Even in the pandemic 2020, we're able to make some successful closures and job placement activities for $11 an hour. So that was an increase. That was great news. And these are some of the jobs that we actually have been able to hire. And if you look at the wages, so I'm giving you this, so you can just kind of review it. You don't, just FYI information. I think it's good to see what kind of jobs our project search students are actually going into. As you see, most of them are 2019, 2020, and we only have, I think, one for 2021 thus far. Knowing that the school's just ending in June and graduations were just this past week, and they will continue this week and next week, our project search graduations. So this is just FYI information. If you see there's one customer already got a job, $10.50 in 2021, and the warehouse and storage stock clerk yard jobs. So what we try to do, as you know, in project search is try to do the non-traditional type jobs. So some of these jobs are jobs that if they did not have project search, their barriers were significant enough that they probably would not have been able to get a competitive job at all. But because of project search, they were still able to go to work, at least on a part-time basis. So the goal is to continue to look at these students. And as we look at career pathways, kind of look at where they are, go back and look at them in the future and see if they want to try to do a different type job or increase their ability to do a better job. So that would be something we'll kind of keep you informed and let you know how that's working. And that's just the last group. So that's the end of that report. Let me ask you if you have any questions on that. Let me try to stop sharing it too. Any questions from anyone? All right. The next chart I want to show you all is, let me try to get out of this. Stop share. All right. No questions from anyone on that. Last time, let me see how much time I have. I'm a little over. The last time I was with you all, we talked about G3, and I'm going to share one more item with you. I will actually send it to you all through Lauren, and you can ask me questions if you have those at our next meeting or if we have time at the end of this session. But you asked me about G3, the G3 project. So I'd like to share that with you all very quickly. This is a presentation that I received with my workforce partners. I'm going to share it with you and ask you that you look at it, but it's somebody else's document, so it's nothing I created, but just to give you an idea of what G3 is all about. It's a project that started in 2020, was actually stopped because of COVID, and the governor's office and the funds were still available, so they're actually implementing it now this year, 2021. G3 stands for Get Skilled, Get a Job, Give Back. Let's see. Are you seeing this screen?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
All right. These are supposedly the last dollar grant program for students that want to go to school. You have to qualify for the in-school tuition, make sure you're the job age. You have to complete a financial aid application like we do for our own college preparation. And you actually have to have the other criteria to the right. Let me just quickly say who's qualified. There's 5 targeted career clusters that they're working to get you a different credential to get you to work. Healthcare and information technology, manufacturing, construction and skilled trades, early childhood education, public safety. These stackable credentials are available to persons that have lower income levels and actually help you get basic skills. If you have a 2.0 GPA, you can go on to get advanced skills. They help you get your first job, second job with the level 2 skills, and then we'll move you on to, as long as you get to maintain the 2.0 GPA, you can get another career skill and help you get level 3 job. So it's really an opportunity for our clientele, as well as any of your customers that you may know or serve in your communities that want to try to upscale their abilities to get credentials for more education and better jobs. And each college has a list of approved G3 stackable credential programs. You can go to a website, and I'll have that information at the bottom, and see how you can get the short-term training and certification to get better jobs. So it's an advantage for our clientele because it's leveraging resources. So it's funding that we can use, so we don't have to use our own funding for these opportunities. And the Virginia, as well as other states now, because of the pandemic, has funds that they really are wanting to use for people to try to help them get skilled up, get better jobs, and help our businesses get qualified candidates. All the businesses are really striving to get qualified candidates and actually offering anything they can to get people back to work. Here's how we can benefit the Commonwealth. You can read here what VCCS, Virginia Community College data says. Those that gain 60% in wages on average is double the amount that we have to pay the taxes they pay. So when does G3 start? July 1. And it's still slow getting started, but actually people can actually apply for these through the community college system now. So that's something I wanted you all to know. We don't have time to answer questions, but I'm going to send this to Lauren. You'll have that. And then I'm going to also send this one other last document. It's frequently asked questions. You can read these questions and the answers, similar to what I just told you, but it actually tells you who's eligible, how the program helps a person with employment. And then it has, it says, go to your local Virginia Community College website to find information out about G3. So I think that's important that you all know about that. We will continue to give you updates on that as we try to sign our customers up in this program. But wanted to comment on that today. We talked about it at the last meeting in March. Any questions for me? Let's see, how did I do, Garrett? 21 minutes. I think I had 20 minutes.
You did well. You did well. Thank you so much, Dee Dee, for that report. And I love learning about the G3 program. That is awesome. And I'm sure so many other people think the same. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Moving on, we will now hear from the Woodrow Workforce and Rehabilitation Center's report from District Director Tim Woodward. Tim.
Thank you. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Mine will be much shorter. I just got back from vacation, so I am playing catch up. today with trying to dig myself out from being gone for a week. But at any rate, I do have some good news. We continue to increase our population at WWRC. We have a big intake. As I look out my window right now, we have a big intake coming in today. We continue to have serve our PERT, our high school clients, as well as our adult population. I'm getting ready to release the district director or the director's quarterly report. I just wanted to give you some good news prior to you all getting that report. I asked Kurt Springer, who is our data guru, to pull some data for me just to take a look at from 2017 to 2021, sort of how WWRC is performing and assisting our clients with gaining financial and social independence. And so I'm really happy to report that our quarterly earnings in the last year and a half have gone up from $4,200 to $5,000, which is excellent news. Our programs in terms of auto mechanics, ETO, health occupations, etc. The average client who comes from that program, 79% are working in the field in which they were trained. And of course, with WIOA, that's a huge deal, that we don't just close them and give them a job in which they weren't trained for, but that when we close them, they are actually working in the field in which they were trained to work. And 79% of our clients are able to work in that. We have some areas such as business information technology that's in the 80% area, and some that are actually like materials technology, MTT, manufacturing technology training, which are 81.3%. So we have some that are extremely high, and that area, for example, with manufacturing technology and training, their mean income, they're starting out at about $13.26. So that's very, very good compared to where we were down the road a few years ago. So that has steadily continued to climb. We continue to have employers constantly contact us wanting to know when our next graduation cohort is coming out, because they want to hire our folks because they are great people, well-trained, excellent employees, very loyal, very punctual, and have those hard skills, but also have the soft skills necessary to be able to be successful in employment areas. So we're excited about what that data has shown us. Also, as far as our clients receiving a credential, we just tested 2 weeks ago our materials handling cohort, and we had 6 clients that were ready to test for their materials handling logistics credential, and 100% of those clients passed the credential. So we are absolutely thrilled about that. So we're very, very excited. As I think Dee Dee said in her report, what is going on out in the field in terms of the clients we serve is certainly a reflection of the same thing here at WWRC, in terms of most of our clients now are from that intellectually disabled category, and we're being very, very successful. I think right now about a third of our clients have autism, and they're being extremely, extremely successful because at WWRC, we're so fortunate to be able to serve that entire child, that entire client, whether it be with behavioral, mental health, with medical, certain types of medical needs, as far as helping with medications and those kinds of things, and also as well as the training, and give them that campus experience. So we have a lot of students in the hopper that are waiting to come to WWRC. And again, as things begin to loosen up, and we hope to be able to continue to fill those slots and get those clients here on campus, and get back up to our capacity, which is somewhere around 300 here in the near future. So that's our goal right now to do that. As the commissioner said, during the pandemic, we didn't fill some positions because we didn't need those positions. And now we're trying to do some backfilling of positions. And quite honestly, in some of the areas, we're having a little trouble getting the workforce, getting people to apply for some of those positions in areas like dorm supervision and recreation and some of those things. We're having a little difficulty getting some qualified clients to apply. So we continue to recruit and to try to get that out there so that we can get those positions filled and be able to get our campus back to capacity, which is what we like. And finally, I'll just let you know that as far as the COVID, and I'm like the commissioner, I long for the day that I never have to say the word COVID again. But as far as our mitigation plan here, it is a little more complicated because we serve adults and we also serve PERK clients. And because the governor has said that K-12 students or K-12 facilities are still to be masked up and that sort of thing, we have part of our campus that serves the PERK program that we do have to continue with the masking no matter what the vaccination process has been. And then we have part of our adult campus where we can follow the CDC that if you have been vaccinated and maintain social distancing, that you do not need to be masked up unless you choose to be. And we have some that continue to choose to be, and that's perfectly acceptable. So that's kind of where we are. Clients are doing well, and quite honestly, I think they are like a lot of our employees, had cabin fever, and they are absolutely excited to be back on this campus. And it's wonderful to walk this campus again and it to actually have movement and excitement and enthusiasm going on. A couple of the last things, and then I will be done. As the commissioner said, we are moving into our newly renovated facility. I cannot even begin to tell you how impressed I am with what that facility looks like. It is state of the art is absolutely the correct word. The technology there, the things that we will be able to do there is absolutely amazing. We have our moving plan in place where we're moving people into the new facility now and moving them out of the old facility. And so we're in the moving phase right now. So that's a little bit of a strain on our staff having to be in that moving process, but it's going smoothly. James Hall, who has organized that along with our general services, has done just an outstanding job of getting that all organized and ready to go. And the last thing that I will say about our data is one of the things when I look at data that I'm always concerned about, when I look at those numbers, I don't just like to look at the numbers. I like to remember that they're real people behind those numbers. And I'm always concerned to look at when we say 79% of our clients are working in the area that they're being trained to work in and what their average wage is. I like to break down that into ethnicity and gender. And I'm still sad to report, and I don't quite know where to go with this and how to continue to work on this, but our white males continue to make $1 to $2 more an hour than do our black males coming out of the same program, which is just kind of unexplainable to me. And that's a concern, and I continue to track those. And our females continue to make less than our males, which is also continues to be a concern to me. I'm reading a lot right now on gender with reading the book Lean In. If you haven't had a chance to read that book, it's an outstanding book. But one of the things that, even though these numbers are wonderful, it still continues to concern me that there still is an ethnicity and gender gap in our employment amounts in our wage earnings. So we're going to continue to try to work on that here, work with our employers and try to figure out, why that is, and not just ignore that, because I think that's extremely important. And this agency is so great and concerned about the diversity and ethnicity of not only the people that work for us, but the people we serve, that I think those are numbers that we have to continue to keep track of and to continue to ask people the hard questions. Why is that the case? So with that, I will end my presentation, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Tim, for the great update on WWRC. And echoed in the comments, I do look forward to echoing Billy's comments. I do look forward to seeing what these what the new cohorts do with all their skills gained through the program. So we are doing well on time, moving forward here. We will now welcome back Mr. David Leon, the DARS, as he will talk about the DARS Vocational Rehabilitation Grants info and updates. So thank you for joining us again, David, and we look forward to your information.
Great, thank you. I developed a brief presentation. Let me see if it will let me share the screen. And if not, I'll just read from it. Hopefully folks can see that. So we're going to talk about 3 specific grant-related activities we are working on. The RSA DIP, the Public Sector Apprenticeship Consortium, and the Good Life Cafe, which used to be called Community Financial Empowerment as a Gateway to Community Participation. Hence the change to the Good Life Cafe. It is much easier for folks to say and remember. And I want to start as I discuss a little bit about the RSA DIF. A little nervous talking about it, and it's because a lot of the work I do is around how people can become overconfident, and when you put a lot of effort into things, you naturally think they're more valuable than maybe other folks do. So that being said, we put a tremendous amount of effort into this project, and I have a lot of confidence that it will be funded. However, in the grand scheme of things, roughly 30 to 35% of federal grant applications are funded. So that's my little asterisk caveat to move forward. The RSA DIF is the Rehab Services Administration Disability Innovation Fund Career Advancement Initiative Model Demonstration Project. We developed a proposal that we are calling Pathways to Careers using partnerships, apprenticeships, and equity. We submitted this in early April. It is a 5-year funding opportunity. DARS requested $9.3 million. Our partners included DHRM, DOLE, the University of Massachusetts at Boston, the Institute for Educational Leadership, and the Department for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We should hear about this award in some point in the summer of this year. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Kathy and Dee Dee for their leadership in getting this submitted. They were able to help us get connected directly with the commissioners of the Department of Labor and Industry for the state and DHRM to get their buy-in to what we propose to do. I also want to make sure to thank Leah Mills and Barbara Burkett, who spent a lot of time on short notice working on writing this proposal. Our goal for this grant was to focus on STEM careers and pathways within registered apprenticeship and government. We had a focus and a goal of trying to help 750 DARS clients achieve jobs within state government, but we would also be able to scaffold those to federal and local government, as well as registered apprenticeship. And what we wanted to do was take advantage of several things. We wanted to take advantage of the original work in the CPID initiative. We wanted to take advantage of two of the governor's initiatives that begin July 1. One is the alternate hiring application process, which DARS will be involved in, and the other is the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens throughout state government that is happening. As Tim just mentioned, we are all looking differently at our outcomes. Tim mentioned the difference in wage disparity between gender. That was an area that Kathy charged us, what didn't work great? What could we do better from CPID till now? So that's part of the lens of what we're looking at. The way the Pathways grant is set up and what we hope to do, we wrote in for 4 positions total, a project director, 2 VR specialists, 1 each would be embedded for the 5 years of the grant at DHRM within their HR department, and 1 at the Department of Labor and Industry within their registered apprenticeship unit. We also added in a rapid response AT specialist type position that would be available to serve individuals who may have hidden disabilities or have become disabled that are working within registered apprenticeships or the Department of Human Resource Management and other state agencies as a way to bridge and make sure we can help those individuals maintain their employment while working on bringing those individuals into the VR services. Again, as I mentioned, our goal is to serve 750 individuals across state, local, federal government, and in registered apprenticeships. We also plan to work on cross-agency policy development. One of the things I learned that I didn't know before we started this process is that much like federal contractors have a 7% goal of hiring individuals with disabilities, registered apprenticeship has that same goal, and there are federal regulations around that. So one of the first steps with both DHRM and DOLE would be that in the first year, part of what would happen is cross-agency policy development on how to better incorporate individuals with disabilities into these opportunities. Again, a big focus is on unserved and underserved populations. Where have things not worked? Where could we do better based on what we know about people who live in various communities? And a goal of increased collaboration and communication across those state agencies. One of the hopes is after the policy development is finished, having those embedded positions within DOLE and DHRM for another 4.5 years will allow us to always have a seat at the table and make sure individuals with disabilities as a potential resource are front and center. We're really excited about the concept of our grant proposal. A couple other things before I talk about in the meantime what we're doing. Another big piece, because we were focused on unserved and underserved populations, and to piggyback off a very successful project the business development team embarked on for our pre-employment transition students this year, piece is that we would develop quarterly career cafes around various targeted sectors, specific job types, categories, where in the first month, individuals who were interested would hear from people working in those fields, but they would hear from people who represented underrepresented groups. So the example I've been using to explain our goal of this is if the first quarter of the year, we were going to target welding as the career we wanted people to learn about. In month 1, people would learn about welding and they would hear the stories of perhaps a female welder, a welder who was Hispanic or deaf and hard of hearing, so that our other clients could see people with lived experience like them and make it more, oh, I can do this job too. Then in month 2, we would be partnering with our registered apprenticeship program and our community college system to talk about, if you are interested in welding, now let's talk about potential training tracks to get you there. And then in month 3, we would work with our partners at Virginia Employment Commission and others to develop actual job fairs. So every quarter in the life of this grant, we would focus on a different targeted area where there would be monthly activities that show examples of the types of jobs, the training and technical opportunities to get the skills for those jobs, and employment opportunities. And our hope with that process, we would have the ability to create content that would have a shelf life beyond the project. So in the meantime, while we are waiting to hear, and whether or not we get that grant, these are all things we need to work on that will really help our agency. We have also applied in partnership with the HRM and the Department of Labor and Industry in a Council of State Government opportunity called a Public Sector Apprenticeship Consortium, where they are going to invite 6 states to have groups of 6 people from their state work together on technical assistance and what public sector apprenticeships could look like within our state system. So we have applied for that. We should hear on that by the end of the month. In addition, we are working with Dolly on an NDEAM event that will be specifically around registered apprenticeships so that all of our counselors can begin to better understand these opportunities, and equally important, then be able to share those types of opportunities with our clients as they're looking at what kind of goals they should have, what kind of things they might be interested in. We are also capitalizing on momentum from our windmills training that our business development managers have gone through. I am really excited to say that in the last year, since our team of 6 was trained and certified as certified windmills trainers, we have provided that training to over 1,200 individuals around the state. We just found out we are being asked to do another big training for a large section of the Department of Social Services, and we are working directly with Rick Sizemore and Betsy to tweak and add a little bit to our training, specifically around the alternative hiring process that the state is embarking on, the DEI initiative, and we're going to try to begin to include some of our clients' 30-second to 1-minute elevator pitches. Really, part of what we've learned is now that we've got this down, how do we turn it into, we're going to give these trainings, but we also want to close that deal and get back to, now how can we make sure you're going to hire some of our folks, or now what do you need from us to hire some great candidates from DARS? So we're really excited about that. We have also continued those career cafes that again started in February. Since then, we have continued those. We just did one with Amazon. We did one, or the next one is going to be with Wanata, which is around apprenticeship and the automotive industry. So we're continuing these projects because of the feedback we've been getting, and also with the hope that if we find out we're funded, it will make it easier to keep these moving forward. And then just a couple examples of folks we have done training around or related to the alternative hiring process events. As that's coming out, we have already been approached by the Department of Veterans Affairs, DBHDS, Department of Health Professionals, and Radford University to begin talking about how can DARS provide candidates for jobs in these locations. So even though this doesn't really start till July 1, we're beginning to see movement, and we're trying to make sure that we're in positions to capitalize on that. A little bit more on the public sector apprenticeship. Again, it's with Council of State Government and the Urban Institute. The goal is to assist to develop and implement public sector apprenticeships. It's 5 states, each with teams of 6. We have applied with DHRM. We now have that rep. And again, each state that's chosen will be working directly with and access to technical assistance to develop a plan and create those opportunities. Now I want to talk a little bit about our financial engagement as a gateway to community participation, which we are now calling the Good Life Cafe. Really, really excited about that. A couple of things that have come up recently. The project was recognized with an Innovations in Research Award from the University of Missouri at Kansas City for the work we're doing specifically with the Charting the Life Course tool. They had not previously done research with their tools, and at least not around financial empowerment. And because of the work we're doing with National Disability Institute, our agencies work together to adapt their materials for our study. So this will allow them to create an evidence-based practice for that Charting the Life course framework around financial empowerment. A little bit more about our study, just to be clear, it is focusing on, this is a NIDLR-funded research project on the impact of life planning, financial coaching, and ABLE accounts on community participation and employment for young adults 18 to 24 receiving VR services and classified as having a cognitive disability with Social Security benefits. The other goals and pieces that are going to be built on is there will be life satisfaction and quality of life surveys. Ideally, we will be working with these individuals not just on their current VR goals, but self-determination and planning for the future after this project. That's part of what's exciting about the Charting the Life course materials. And during the study, let me go back. During the study, individuals chosen in the treatment group will receive in-depth group and one-on-one financial coaching, help with Charting the Life course materials where they're identifying their own goals. They will also receive at specific points within the study, not only help opening an ABLE account, but deposits being put into their account on their behalf for participation. And again, part of our hope is that when they see deposits put in their account, it allows individuals to think more broadly about what they'll use that money for. We hope it motivates them to increase their savings and put more money into those accounts. And really bigger picture, build agency. How do we help individuals with cognitive disabilities build agency so that they can choose what they want to do? Our partners for this project include the National Disability Institute, Virginia's Able Now program, STARS, and then our research team includes the Burton Blatt Institute at Syracuse and the Institute on Disability at the University of New Hampshire. And Barbara Burkett has been heavily involved in helping us with this as well on the internal side. Components of the research study include the interventions, which are targeted futures planning, financial education, the opening of ABLE accounts, $100 in ABLE account deposits, financial coaching. Again, our sample populations are individuals with cognitive impairments, individuals who are DARS eligible with SSI or SSDI, with an open case with an IPE. And we are starting with 3 regions of the state: the Northern region, the Capital District, and the Hampton Roads District. We have permission to go statewide from the project director, but we still want to start with what we wrote in the original grant. And the goal in terms of the overall sample size is 250, with 125 in the intervention group and 125 in the control group. There will also be in-depth interviews with 20 ABLE participants and a national survey of current ABLE account holders separate from just our group. We had a lot of adjustments. This project was funded several years ago. We were just about to turn in our work to the IRB committee. We were ready to begin. And as you all know, last March, COVID, well, 2 Marches ago now. So when COVID happened, it required us to completely rewrite the project, get new approval from the project director to do everything virtually. Basically, we had to shift every aspect of what we were going to do and how it could get done effectively. Once that was approved, we were able to submit to our IRB for approval, which I'm pleased to say that part has happened. Again, we did also include individuals with all disabilities within that age range and living anywhere in the state, and that the instruction will be conducted individually and virtually. At first, we were going to do but groups of 10 to 12 individuals on site using DARS community resource rooms or offices that could contain that, a conference room of sort. We are still, though, trying to begin with the intended group, but we have permission to expand as we move forward. And then again, I went over the criteria to participate. Individuals between the ages of 18 and 24 receiving SSI, SSDI, or dual eligibility, access to a computer or smartphone along with internet access. We did move funding so that if it becomes a need, we can provide webcams and we can provide hours of internet. So we've had to move some funding to make sure we will be able to do this. And then the other big thing is that we can't include someone who already has an ABLE account. It can also be anyone in any active status. So even individuals who are already in employed status with VR. And again, the project will work where all participants will work with project staff. The intervention group is going to receive life course training first, then financial literacy training, then the ABLE account and scheduled deposits into that account. The intervention group and the control group will have scheduled contacts to update research teams on their progress. One of the other really exciting things is that Virginia 529, which administers ABLE accounts for the state, has agreed to, for the life of this study, waive all fees for those individuals who are receiving the accounts. We hope that is another little, oh, this is a great time to open this. Those fees are minor to begin with, but it just shows the level of collaboration with another state agency and their goal in seeing us be successful. A little bit more about charting the life course, if folks aren't familiar with it. It is a series of tools and instruction designed to help clients conceptualize their goals by identifying and accessing supports. There are places to talk about personal strengths and assets, technology, relationships. It's very community-based, and you can make it eligibility specific. One of the things I like about it, and I should say before we made our final plans to use this, and again, this was pre-pandemic, we actually worked with 2 groups of students who were at WWRC. We had the folks on our team, the folks from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. We all went to WWRC for about 4 days and spent time running through the different tools with different groups and getting feedback, making sure that it would be valuable and that we could use it the way we thought we could. And that ended with some time where the developers of the tools sat down and, we wanted to make sure we were also using them correctly. So we spent a lot of time making sure these things could work correctly. And I don't know the full story on it, but the same charting the life course materials are being utilized across the state in other ways for individuals who might be having a support intensity scale and a plan developed related to their day support or other issues. That's separate from our agency, but again, it's a tool that in Virginia is being used more widely than just us, and so that should help with how we move forward as well. And again, within that tool, it's really designed to help individuals and their families think about their future, what they want or what they need to know, how to find or develop supports, discover what it takes for where they want to live. There's some really cool pieces where people talk about, hey, what are your hobbies? What would you like to do? How are you going to get there? Who's going to help you get there? So it's really, these tools are really designed for an individual to develop more self-advocacy and agency in their own lives by identifying things they want to do, whether they're related to VR or a job or just their place in the community and how they want to get there. And our hope is that we will be able to support this and reinforce the value of those goals and tap into individuals' intrinsic goals through work. When we can say things like, all these great things you want to do, this job you're getting is going to help with that. And so we really hope that we can kind of marry the process and develop some nice ways of utilizing this for stronger counseling, guidance, and increased motivation. So again, for the intervention group, there will be access to one or both of our trained project coaches. We have one who works for our agency and one works for NDI. That's the National Disability Institute. They have been trained and provided lots of certifications over the last couple of years in both life course planning and financial coaching. They will receive individualized support for life course planning and financial skills with individualized accommodations as needed over a 10-week period with follow-up support for 12 to 24 months through those coaches. We've developed, they will receive a copy of the curriculum and all of the tools in paper and online formats. And again, support to open an ABLE account and periodic deposits in that account. And we are inviting, as individuals want, their supporters. They can be family members, friends, support staff, can be a VR counselor if they want. Others invited to participate by someone accepted into the project. Supporters can offer assistance as requested by a project participant in any of the sessions and in the completion of activities, homework assignments, and surveys. And they can assist with online access for people who request support. That's a big piece of the Charting the Life course, is identifying those natural supports who will help you do the things you want. And we wanted to bring that into this study. And again, ABLE accounts are administered by 529, open to enrollees national. It allows resources put into those accounts to not be counted against the resource limits for SSI and Medicaid. And the rest of this is just about ABLE accounts. I know I'm running low on time, so I don't want to go through everything about ABLE accounts, but rather I'd like to finish with where we are today with this project, because I'm really excited about that. I am pleased to say that last week we sent recruitment emails to 301 potentially eligible participants in this study for the Fairfax and Alexandria offices. We started with 2 offices, 181 individuals in Fairfax, 120 in Alexandria. Pleased to say that only 22 emails were returned. Jonathan May, who is our project coordinator for this, is working with those counselors this week to try to get an updated contact information. Our information sessions for the first cohort will begin July 7th. We have set up open times 4 times a week for individuals who may be interested in participating, every Monday at 10 and noon and every Wednesday at 1 and 4:30. We have also decided that the 2 coaches will have open quote unquote office hours every Friday for most of the day. And again, the goal is to create as many opportunities to engage with both individuals who may be interested in participating, but then also as the study goes on, those office hours will be kept open so that anybody, regardless of where they are within the study, whether they're in their 10-week period or they finished it 6 months ago, those office hours will remain so that any of those 125 in the treatment group will have access to ongoing financial coaching moving forward. And that is pretty much everything I can think of for today. I'm going to apologize for the 2 spelling mistakes that I caught this time around, but of course I didn't catch each other time I looked at this. But I would be happy to answer questions on any of those topics. And again, otherwise, I'm grateful for the opportunity and very thankful for the support of Dee Dee, Kathy, and everyone else at DARS to get us this far in these projects.
Thank you so much, David. We have a few minutes if anybody has any questions before we move on. Hearing no questions, again, David, I was told that you were going to be bringing a great presentation, and you definitely did not disappoint. This is a great thing for those in need with disabilities. So congratulations on bringing that to us.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. All right. pull my notes back up here. Moving forward, we will, she is ready. We will now hear from Catherine Harrison as she gives vocational rehabilitation regulation updates and public comments received. Catherine.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. That's going to be a hard act to follow when I get to talk about regulations, which I know is just everybody's favorite topic in the world, but it can be exciting. So just to give y'all an update, agencies are required every couple of years to do a periodic review of their regulations. And it was time, we had done some updates a couple of years ago related to the changes with WIOA, but we were up for a periodic review. So we went through that process and we did receive some public comments from the Disability Law Center, and they brought up some great points about making sure that we were serving students with disabilities who are in congregate settings. And one of their comments was that they wanted to make sure that we included psychiatric residential treatment facilities. And we responded to that in the register as well. And we're going to be making, although we're not going to be making changes to the regulations specific to that setting, we will be making changes in the manual, the VR manual, as well as we have a pre-ETS guidance document as well to make sure that counselors know and providing some guidance about serving those students with disabilities who aren't in, I think, the more traditional setting of, high school. And so to make sure that those students are receiving pre-ETS services as well. So those were some great comments that we received. And we were in definite agreement with that. So in looking at the regs, we did find a couple of areas that needed to be cleaned up, and we're working on those draft changes now. They're very much technical in nature. So we're hoping to be able to do a fast track with them. They're not out yet as we're still working on them in-house, but I did want to give y'all an update about what we're looking at doing. So the first is a cleanup in the definition of an individual with MSD in the definition section, just to make it clearer. Right now, it actually references something else, and this would just make it much cleaner. In keeping with that, under where we have order of selection, where it defines the different categories, it's a cleanup. It's not changing the order of selection in any way. It's just cleaning up that language to make it very clear about what priority category to includes, who that includes. And that would be individuals with a significant disability with one or two impairments. So we're also going to be looking at updating language regarding financial participation. So right now we have certain services that are exempt from client financial participation. One of them is dealing with work experiences. So it says paid work experiences. So we're going to add unpaid work experiences in there as well, just to make that very clear about that as well. We're removing some language regarding extended evaluation, which we missed during the previous redo and when we were updating the regs related to WIOA. So that's sort of a bit of a holdover, and instead replacing it with trial work, which is sort of updated newer language from WIOA. And we're also going to be updating the section related to release of information and cleaning that up a bit as well. And that's going to be a bit of a heavier lift, but it's strictly technical in nature. But to make it cleaner and easier for folks to read. So I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all have, and we'll be keeping y'all in the loop too as we move forward with that. I hope I didn't put everybody to sleep. I know it's close to lunchtime too.
I don't see any questions. I'm trying to scroll through and make sure I'm not just looking at chat. I'm looking at people's screens too. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't see anything either. Okay.
Great.
All right. Moving on.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Catherine. Moving on, is Mabel on the call? Yeah, I'm trying to see.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, yes, indeed. All right.
Okay.
Now we will hear from Mabel as you speak on the consumer satisfaction report.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. This is the federal fiscal year 2020 report. Two things I wanted to point out when I was listening to Catherine regarding applications and things like that that were down. Our plan for agreement, the first time, first year, the percentage of the yes responses were less than 70%. We've been running for plan agreement, prior average 2014 to 2019 was 74%. So it was 68% for 2020. But then the contact, which is sort of points to good information regarding our staff, maintaining contact was really slightly above the prior 6-year average. So it was at 73%. And the prior 6-year average was 72%. So those are two good things to recognize there regarding the report. I took a different approach this year for analyzing the results to try to pull in a more utility type focus where we could see, well, what's happening, what has happened to consumers who completed the survey while they were in service, but maybe now their case is closed. So that I identified those individuals, and pretty much what we see is typically what we've seen when we did the survey of closed cases. Those who are employed at closure have a good perception of services. Those who are not employed at closure, they would have a good front-end perception in terms of getting started and everything, but the perception of service delivery would not be as well. And that's when we were doing the closed cases back in the early 2000s to 2013. Let's see, I lost my thought there for one thing. Okay. All right, yes. So that was one reason why we ended up doing the survey of open cases, to just help us to understand things that were going on. In terms of just looking at the graphs there, while those percentages are low for people who are not employed, closure reasons primarily do not have anything to do with staff. It's either staff not being able to locate them because they've moved, or the consumer themselves have refused services. So while that percentage is low, it's not a reflection of staff, it's more of what has happened in terms of keeping up with staff, with consumers. The other thing, I think that's it. Everything else, there's nothing surprising in the results. In terms of looking at the things that consumers indicate that really help them move towards their job goal, it was good to look at this because again, you see where pretty much everyone wants to get a job. So that's related, that is mentioned more for pretty much everyone. One thing that I like to point out too is that those who close with no employment, they tend to have more miscellaneous things because there are things specific to their need, because sometimes they're dealing with maybe their health, or they're dealing with something that they needed and they got that. So it's when things that are very few in mentions are categorized under miscellaneous. The same thing occurs when you look at the things that would help them move closer to their job goal. For example, someone may say, just my health getting better. Well, I'm in college now. So those are things that we have to keep in mind as well. Not everything that shows up as a negative is because someone had a terrible experience. If they're in college, they're going to say no to something if it's not happening to them at that time, because they're getting the survey and they're completing that survey based on what's happening to them at that moment. And I think that's pretty much, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. So does anyone have any questions?
I'm looking, Mabel. I'm trying to see if anyone has any questions. Nothing showing up in the chat. Let me just be sure. No, I'm not seeing any questions.
See anything either.
Okay. All right. Now I do have a question, because during this year of 2020, we have experienced backup, at the post office. And there are some surveys that have come in from a recent that I sent out. And they're like about 7 surveys, 4 of which would end up being consumers in this analysis for this report. And I would like to ask permission to add that information in.
Mabel, this is just your preliminary report, so I think you're fine to go ahead and tie in any other responses you've received, and
Okay,
then the
great.
council will reshare this when we have the final picture. You don't have to come for that, but we'll look back at it again when the report is finalized, because I believe that the council needs to approve that.
Okay. Yes, I see Kathy's question. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mabel.
Yes, we do, Kathy. We send out an email when a sample is developed, and we have to develop that sample monthly. So each month, a sample is developed from that month's information from the application through closure, files, open status, all of those things. So each month we do the sample, we send out an email notification. Then after that email notification, a postcard notification is sent out. And the postcard notification has the link, the email notification has the survey link to the web, and then we send out a paper survey to people who have not completed the papers, who have not responded or did a survey completion on the web. We send out paper surveys. So typically what happens is that our consumers prefer paper. They prefer paper. And that's been the continuous trend from 2014 until now. It's not a big high-tech level of completions on the web.
Thank you for that information, Mabel.
Yes, I mean, because we looked at that, because we're looking at ways that we can do things a little better, because it is a lot. It's a lot to package 230 some surveys each month. And then when they come back, then you have to enter all of that information by hand.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not automated. Our consumers like to write. So, it takes time. But that's the mode of our consumers. So California has a similar format as ours, and their response rate is similar to ours. So we're not losing anything by having paper. There's some of the questions that we asked that are somewhat similar to theirs. Our ratings are about the same. The percentages are about the same. So that's the one state I sort of, watch a little bit, because they do the same thing. They send out they send out email notifications, they send out paper surveys. They do not do postcard reminders.
Thank you so much, Mabel. And I'll be sharing the preliminary report in the follow-up email that goes out today, you all, if that's all right. And then we'll look back at this again as the final report in August.
Sounds good, Lauren. And again, thank you very much, Mabel, for this report. All right.
All righty, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Now, somehow, some way, we got ahead of schedule.
You did. Y'all have done well.
Good job, everybody. So, yeah, we have on the schedule now for questions stemming to member reports, the roundtable reports. Given that we do have time, does anyone want to, I guess, Lauren, I mean, we have time, so does anybody want to give a report? Maybe that we did not, because I know that, I mean, at last count, Lauren, you only received, a couple, right?
I believe that I received 4 in time to put in the compiled report, but I also received one shortly after Daniel submitted his. So I'll be sending out an updated compiled report to you all today, also in my follow-up email. So that follow-up email is going to be pretty heavy, but it'll have lots of good information.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or things they would like to report?
I would like to, this is Linda. I just wanted to say that here in the Hampton Roads area, my company, we'll still have our office open, but not open to the public. And just staff come in, one person per day, that kind of thing. But what I've announced to our staff is, everybody talking about the governor's thing, you don't have to wear a mask. We're working with children and we're working with adults as well. And in my company, I'm instructing them to wear their mask. They're out in public a lot, in public places, and I require them to wear a mask. So we found out on Friday that we also can be arrested. I'm not sure if you all are aware of that if with the new rule in Congress that we can be arrested by the local police. And they're trying to get that change, I think, this week. Does anyone have an update on that? They're going back into Congress to change it back. You won't be arrested if you don't have a mask on.
Linda, are you speaking about the legislation that's geared towards masks, like Halloween masks that cover, for non-medical purposes, cover the face?
No, this was just regular mask. They're saying you don't have to wear them now. But they're changing that. They're going to be changing that this week. If that's your choice, that's your choice. And if that's the business's choice, it's the business's choice. So, and Virginia Beach is working with the businesses here. They're not arresting anybody. No. So I think that's kind of silly. Yeah. So, but anyway, we're doing pretty good. We've had several staff with COVID. Several. In fact, we just buried a friend on Saturday at 11.
Sorry.
Well, he had and cancer. So anyway, we're just doing the best we can. But we're thankful that we're getting more clients coming in to provide more services, because this has been a really rough time with mental illness in our community. It has increased hospitalizations, and honestly, they don't have space to keep them. Yeah. So, but other than that, we're hanging in there.
Thank you for the report, Linda. And again, sorry for your loss.
Yeah, we are too. Yeah.
Anyone else?
By the way, this is a good meeting. I just wanted to throw that out to you and everyone who spoke. It was an excellent meeting. We got through it a little early, but it was a great meeting.
Yes, indeed. I agree. Thank you.
Early's okay.
Always.
Garrett, this is Billy. I've got something to add real quick.
Billy, sure.
I just wanted to make note that I've noticed on social media, DARS has been more active in sharing updates and content that I've been trying to reshare and promulgate it in my networks. And I think it'd be really important for all of us to help drive some of these employment initiatives to get folks to working who have disabilities. If we could really take an active approach to kind of reshare those messages and connect with the other advocacy groups and do the same. But those messages, I've had some folks comment on mine as I've reshared them, and hope to get other employers to connect with DARS and the agencies for these initiatives as well.
All right, thanks for that reminder, Billy. Yes, and I am now looking on the DARS Facebook page. Yeah, so they have been.
Garrett, this is Lauren. I just want to take this minute because I know Betsy Civilette is helping to make the YouTube stream possible, but she and Rick Sizemore do a great job on the DARS Facebook page, and it is really helpful if you see something that you like to share it or just like it, because it'll get it in front of that many more faces.
Indeed. Thank you, Lauren.
Oh, I see some chat things happening. Oh, thank you, Billy. Got it. Okay. No questions in chat, just checking in, sorry.
This is Garrett again. Does anyone else have anything they would want to share? Hearing and seeing none, we can wrap up early if you all would like.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Lunchtime.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you all very much for, again, bearing with me and bearing with us in this virtual world and virtual meeting. It has been great. This is a very informative day, and great to be with you all, and looking forward to, hopefully, again, fingers and toes crossed, that we will be able to be together in person for our August meeting. Lauren and everyone will keep you updated on that. Hope you all stay safe, healthy, and we will see you in August.
Everybody have a good summer.
All right.
Thank you. See you all in August.
Yes,
Can't wait.
ma'am.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
Thank you, interpreters.
Yes.